So I was super excited when I heard about the new album coming out. First of all, we just needed some wonderful Steve Bell music during this time. But also, it had been about 4 years since you'd put out a new album.
It's the longest stretch of time between albums in 30 years. Yeah.
So you're just slacking off, or what was the deal there?
Well, actually, and it's not that I didn't do output. I wrote a series of books called Pilgrim Year, which is a 7-booklet series of reflections on the tradition of the Christian calendar year. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I was doing with that time. I was still doing concerts. And then, so it took a couple of years to get that together. We had a couple of years to sort of get it out and promote it. And then it was time for a new album.
Mm-hmm. Now, I love the package. I love that you've got like a book that goes along with this and everything. It is absolutely beautiful. But one of the first things you say in this book is to at least once listen to the album from beginning to end as it's presented in the album. Why is that important that everybody does that at least once?
Well, I mean, I can't make you experience my art the way I intend it to be experienced, right? That's the thing about, the new digital platforms and stuff, is that it's no longer in my control for you to experience it as I put it together. Mm-hmm. But I hope, if you're a Steve Bell fan, that you will take into consideration that I chose the songs and the order and the packaging, because the songs are individual, yes, but there's also an arc to the album. And for those of us that grew up with albums, it's an art. The album itself is an art form. How do I give you an experience, right? Mm-hmm, and I'd like you to have the experience that I worked for. And so, yes, each song stands on its own, but they're put together in a way that I hope gives you a certain kind of an experience that you can't have unless you actually listen to it in a sitting, in the order that I intended it to be. And so I'm still an album guy. I like that art form, and I'm kind of sad that it's being lost.
Well, I do like that you did also release this on vinyl.
Yes.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yes. Yeah, vinyl is great. Vinyl is an interesting thing. And it's audiophiles might say they like it better or not. I mean, that's whatever. But what's interesting about vinyl is that it's delicate, it's vulnerable. If you have my album on your phone and someone runs over your phone, it's all still there, right? You can have it transferred or whatever.
Yeah.
Vinyl is different. You put it on your record player and you drop that needle, and if you're in a hurry, you scratch the record. It's precious. And there's something about the act of vinyl, of putting it on and being careful, and you get out your little brush and get the dust off, because as soon as you hear that crackle, it's never going away, right? Nope. And so the actual way we approach music with vinyl is different because it's precious. And so I think it actually prepares you for what's coming.
Yes.
You have to be careful with it. Because once this is wrecked, it's wrecked. You have to go buy another one.
Well, and I love what we're going to do over the next hour, because that's kind of how we're going to be listening to this album. Is if we were putting the needle on and sitting down and letting it run through song by song. Now, this particular album is called "Wouldn't You Love to Know?" That's the title track. I love when I first heard that this was the name of the album and of the first song, because there was sort of a cheekiness to it and a cleverness to it, because I think when it came out, there's all kinds of things I would love to know, not only about Steve Bell, but about what the heck is going on in the world right now.
Right.
So the timing of it, but also the title of it. Why was it important to you to have a title that sort of asked a question?
Well, a couple things. One, it actually is good marketing, right? When I first realized this is going to be the album title, I thought, oh, that's perfect, because you can play with it. But the actual song itself stems from I stumbled across an online written out sermon by N.T. Wright called "Wouldn't You Love to Know?" Now, I'm an N.T. Wright fan. He's an English theologian. I think he's brilliant, and I read his books, and I just was checking out what's out there, what is he talking about now. And I saw this title, "Wouldn't You Love to Know?" And the first thing I thought is, yes. I don't know what you're selling, but I'm interested. I want to know. I want to know. So what do you... And so the whole essay or the talk that he gives is about how do we actually come to know something? How do you know the truth or the essence of something? And in our modern Enlightenment scientific world, we take it apart, we analyze the parts, and we say we know it now. And he says not yes and no. You know data. You know facts. You don't know essence. You don't know truth. And that truth is greater than data. Truth is greater than facts. If you want to know data and facts, there's a scientific method you can do that. If you want to know meaning, that's different. And he says this. He says, in that realm, you can't know what you don't first love. You must love something in order to know it. I've come to know my wife Nancy because I've committed to a lifetime of loving her. Love precedes knowledge. And so I remember, reading this, and I'm kind of blown away by this thought. And then at the end of his little essay, he says, so if it's true that love precedes knowledge, if you have to love something in order to know it, then wouldn't you love to know? Perfect. And I went, a song. And I thought, yeah, absolutely perfect, right? Yeah. Because you do, in a sense, in our modern world, we almost have to kill something in order to know it, right? If you want to know a frog, you take it out of the pond, you dissect it, you measure parts, you analyze the systems and the structures and the biology to the skeleton, all that kind of stuff, and then at the end you can say, well, we know a frog. No, you don't. You know a dead frog. If you want to know a living frog, you have to get a stool, you have to go by a pond, you have to be very, very quiet for a very, very long time in order to know anything about a frog. And if you don't love it, you're not going to put the time in.
True. So true.
Right? It's your passion to want to know and love that frog. It's the love that's going to put you there in that disposition where you can receive and come to know the truth of frogginess. So there you go.
Well, we'll talk more about the putting together of the song, but first let's hear the song. This is Wouldn't You Love to Know, Steve Bell's the title track from his latest CD.
If you have to love the truth just to know if it is true, wouldn't you love to know? If the essence of a thing begs to hear your tender wooing, wouldn't you love to know? If you can't know a part without delighting in the whole, wouldn't you love to know? If you'd never know a kiss without first cherishing the soul, wouldn't you love to know? To know as you are known, simply love as you are loved. Gently turn this fertile loam to unearth the fragrance of the lover's drug. From the far cloud-hidden star to the solitary bug, wouldn't you love to know? Frankenstein and Faust are yet the rage, unspeakable the severing damage done. Yet on the wind the distant sound of drum, and the sweetness of the sage still might come a kinder age. See the wonder-stricken child, hear the elders wise in song. Wouldn't you love to know? Wouldn't you love to know? Wouldn't you love to know?
Well, Well, that was Wouldn't You Love to Know? That's the title track off of Steve Bell's new album. And we're talking with Steve Bell today about the new album. And I just love that song. I love what you did with the instrumentation there. There was a real homage to some bluegrass in there.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
I was very influenced by Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Me too. I love that album.
I love that.
Oh,
so anytime, I get a chance, and I was a huge T-Bone Burnett fan,
Nice.
who's a producer of that music. I fell in love with bluegrass or Americana music one time when I heard an old Emmylou Harris album, a bluegrass album of gospel songs.
Oh, yes.
And I remember thinking, my mind went crazy, like, what is that? And so I've been a fan of the genre, and of course I didn't grow up in it. So, but anytime I can get close to it with my own music, I'm always happy.
Well, and it was just, it's a very tasty, part of that song. And even when you get into some of the choruses, there's almost like a knee slap moment there where you can really get into it. And again, I love that music too. So I was like, oh, someone else who loves it as much as I do.
It's very rootsy. It's very porchy. It's the kind of thing you might see somebody playing on a porch with a bunch of people singing. I mean, that's the feel of it, right? It feels very communal.
Yeah, and it's an interesting dichotomy between that instrumentation and that feel and what you're actually singing about in the words.
Right.
So I love that, how it's very challenging.
Thank you.
And it is a piece of art, that song. Actually, the whole album is a piece of art.
Thank you.